aim for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think you have to really learn to stand your ground and really know who you are. A very recent example that happened, actually, like this time last year, I was working with a modeling manager, and I had told her, hey, it's my dream to land like a guest campaign or something like that. And she said, okay, yeah, I'll help you shoot. And she took some pictures of me on her phone, and then a couple days later, she sends me a picture, photoshopped my body, made my waist smaller, made my shoulders thinner, and said, this is what you need to look like to get a guest campaign. And I'm like, you realize I'm a certified personal trainer? And she's like, well, try to tell Paul Marciano that. And it was wild, because at first I felt offended, but then I thought, no, I just don't think this is okay. And I wrote back to her and I said, hey, you know what, I think the advice you're giving, I don't agree with this, and I don't think there's any scope for us to work together. And she was not happy about that, but I felt very proud that I stood up for myself in that sense, because as a model and as an actor, there's so much rejection in the industry. It can be very second nature to be like, okay, I have this opportunity, I need to take it. But if you know who you are and you know what doesn't sit right with you, you have to stand up for that and be like, okay, maybe I am screwing myself over, but at the same time, I know that I've done right by me. So that was one example.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. So how do you overcome the fear it takes to take that next step in your journey?
I think I've grown very comfortable with not knowing what I'm doing because as you guys heard in my talk, that's happened quite a lot. And in the back of my mind, I just have this faith that I can figure it out. I'll ask people, I'll research online, I'll watch videos on it. And also to that point of surrendering, I know we all stand on different spectrums when it comes to faith, but I've noticed truly just believing that the universe or God is with me and everything is just gonna work out the way it needs to and I'm taken care of. I feel like that gives me a lot of reassurance. And it just allows me to take chances and be like, okay, well, let's see what this is about, and whatever happens will happen.
I think we can all agree after hearing you speak and sharing your story, we're all really inspired and moved by who you are and what you do. And I'm curious, who are some of the people who inspire you and motivate you to go the further mile and keep going?
I would say definitely my parents. I really, really admire what they did by moving over to the United States. Now looking back, they were in their 30s and they had me and they had my brother who's right up there. He wasn't even born yet, but they moved to the United States not knowing anything, and my dad only had $500 with him at the time. So looking back, it's like, wow, you made such a big change because you wanted a good life for your family. It's just very inspiring. So I really look to them for their work ethic, their courage, their risk-taking, and yeah.
Yeah, I can agree. My parents are also here, so. Yeah. I think also you shared a lot of quotes that you liked, and I'm also a big quote person. Any other quote people in the house you really look to quotes?
Woo!
Yeah. Do you have any other favorite quotes you can share with us?
Oh gosh, yeah. So this was actually from my 7th grade classroom. My teacher had given this to me on some certificate that I framed, and it went like this: aim for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars. And just at a very young age, that was it was very important to me because it showed me okay, always aim high, right? Don't be afraid to dream big, because I think a lot of people don't do that because they're worried, what's gonna happen if I fail or if I don't make it? I'm gonna be disappointed, or all these negative emotions that come with it. But trust me, when you do take that initiative to dream big and to take those risks, you'll end up in a place where you'll be surprised that you ended up I would not be here talking to you guys today if I didn't just decide to do this pageant. There was no reason. I just thought, hey, let me try. Maybe I can win this someday. And it completely changed my life.
Yeah, so aim for the moon, because
even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars.
And I think Chhavi probably liked this quote because he wanted to be an astronaut.
I did want to, yes. Honestly, reflecting on it now, I feel like I would have made a great astronaut. I still can't really do that many push-ups, and I probably still stink at visits, but
As a former pageant girl myself, I'd love to learn more about your experience in the pageant world.
Okay, well, I think pageants honestly get a very bad rep because a lot of people just look at them as very like, oh, okay, it's just the aspect you see on stage, right? It's just girls walking around in like a swimsuit and an evening gown, and maybe they have a question to answer. But honestly, like going through this journey of preparation, I learned so much about myself because I really learned what it was like to have healthy habits. I learned what it was like to carry myself and be able to converse with people of all age groups. Like that's what you do as a title holder. You need to know how to enunciate and articulate your emotions on the spot, sometimes in front of millions of people watching you on live TV. You learn how to interview, you learn how to communicate, you have a platform you care about, and you find a cause that you want to support. There's just so many different things. So I think when it comes to like pageants, what people really ought to start looking them, like the lens they should start looking them through is, how can I be the best person that I can be? How can I be well-rounded in every facet of my life? And kind of approach it with that lens.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, and I think it's really interesting how you brought up how many people perceive pageants as this one thing, and I think that kind of correlates to what you said about social media too. Like with any situation or any organization or any event, like we never know everything that goes into it or what all it takes. So I think talking about all the things that is part of the pageant world is actually really, really cool and really interesting to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you ever feel imposter syndrome?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes. I think it's just we're our toughest critics, right? And sometimes it's like, oh, like, you know, what did I do? How did, like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I definitely have moments where I'm like, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know what like if I deserve this or whatever. But at the same time, I think we don't see how much we do, like all the hard work we put in on a daily basis. And there's this entry that I do in my journal actually every day. And at the end of the day, I try to reflect on my wins for that day. Like, what were my wins and what did I achieve? How did I move closer to my goals? Because we forget things in the short term, but I think when we look back at these entries, we can see, oh wow, like the reason I achieved this is not because of like some luck or because I'm not like worthy of it. It's because I put in the work, and now I have a record of all my wins every single day, all like tracking how I move closer to my goal every single day. And I think that's just been a very like profound habit that I've implemented.
Yeah, I really love that, and I love how you brought up luck. I think there's another quote that talks about how like luck is just like
oh yeah, oh my gosh. Actually, no, I don't know the quote, sorry, but I read this book by Naval Ravikant, and it's called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, and he talks about the 4 types of luck. And he says the first type is straight up blind luck, which is very rare to come across. The second type is when you basically create enough momentum in your life for luck to find you. Like for example, if I'm trying to be like a successful real estate agent, I go to conferences, I talk to everyone, I like, you know, share, like, so basically you're making momentum for luck or opportunity to find you. The third kind, I believe, was just getting so experienced in your field that you're able to see patterns where other people might miss it. So like, you know, when you're years in an industry, you can just spot, oh, this is a pattern. This is what I think is gonna happen next. I think of like Gary Vee when I say that. And then the fourth type of luck is when you get so good at whatever it is you are uniquely qualified for, that opportunity finds you. So an example would be like, suppose you do deep sea scuba diving and you're like, you go to depths that no one has gone to. If someone were to find a treasure, they would contact you because you're the person most well known for this. And that's how luck and opportunity find you as well. So yeah, that was my little thing on luck.
Yeah, no, I think that was great. Talking about kind of what it's like to be a minority in a predominantly white industry.
You definitely, like I mentioned earlier, you definitely have to stand up for yourself, and you have to just know, okay, this is something that I'm worthy of. Because being South Asian in a predominantly Caucasian industry, I think there are certain times where people just have like different perceptions of you. Granted, now we live in a time where it's trendy to have more diversity. So, you know, you can take that as you will. I try to just use it to my advantage and be like, okay, if this is how it is, then, you know, use it to work and do it like, approach it like that. But there have been times where I've just come across certain racist comments or just microaggressions that have just been uncalled for. And again, like I mentioned, I think it's in those cases where you really stand your ground and you tell people, politely, of course, that why that's not okay.
Yeah, I think kind of referencing what you said before about embracing yourself, and if you know who you are and you know your North Star, then you can always stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
So Chhavi did put together a worksheet with her compass and some challenges for you all to take on over the next 10 days.
Yes, so I strongly abide by my morning routine. Like I rely on it so heavily just to get my mental like grounding every single day and be able to deal with all the different things that I deal with on a daily basis. So I kind of put that in worksheet form for you guys, and there's a challenge where I'm asking you guys to meditate for 10 minutes every day and to show gratitude and do all these different things that I do. And especially the thing at the top, which is defining your life vision. I think if you guys take on that challenge, you will change your life. I did this thing last year and I just wrote out my ideal day and all the habits and goals I would need to implement to achieve that. And I can look back and I've already achieved quite a few of those. So if you guys want to join the challenge with me, definitely do so. I think you will. I think it'll really help.
All right, well, thank you so much. I think we can all agree that this has been such an incredible session, and we will be handing out the worksheets on the way out. So once again, Chhavi Verg.
Thank you.